Well, you gotta respect India as being a prominent name. Well, the origin of Psytrance, basically. It started there. Techno music, which dominated the club scene back then. And that kind of slowly evolved into Goa trance in a club in Bombay called Fire and Ice. I think it's a legendary club in the history of the Goa scene in India. I don't think I ever had a bad party in India. Because even if you don't happen, if you happen to have a small party, even with not a lot of people, the energy is always 100%. In Israel especially, there was a movement of really good underground parties, which was legendary parties, mostly in the desert. It's a great honor hovering this incredible mothership called the Dance Temple. Especially when it's full, it's incredible because not only full, it's full with people who know exactly what they like. And music, like every kind of art, reflects the state of the world. And the world has been in a turmoil for a few years, so there's a need for more aggressive and fast music. That's why high tech and Twilight and all this stuff started to rise. Trance music is for everyone, for every state, but there's something about alter states which is very special. It was 5,000 people on the dance floor where the whole world was shut. And I even had doubts about my career and my future, you know. This is Ventura, and you're listening to PSYFYI magazine.
Yes, welcome to the Third Eye Wi-Fi podcast by Sci-Fi Magazine. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thanks for having me.
So, before we dive deep into your life, how does it feel landing in Delhi? And how are you feeling coming back to India?
I always like coming back to India. It's a pleasure for me. I love coming here. The landing in Delhi was a bit turbulent. My plane went back to Zurich after 2 hours of flight because of a technical problem, which made me miss the first gig of my tour, sadly. I landed here almost 6 in the morning instead of 11. So it started a bit rough, but I had a day of relaxing in Delhi and everything is good. Looks like the rest of the tour is going to be okay.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your early life. You have been in the scene for quite a while. You started at a very young age, and you also come from a musical family. So, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? How was your early exposure to music like?
Well, yeah, my father is a music composer in Israel. He wrote some of the most iconic songs in Israeli music history, basically. So I had a big influence from age zero. When I was 2 years old, he won the Eurovision contest. I'm not sure if you know it in India, where it's a kind of a big deal in Europe. So music was all around me from for very early age. My father was really busy working, so actually I got a lot of influence from my sister. Was watching a lot of 80s music. I'm that old. So I had a lot of 80s pop and synth pop and stuff like that running in the background, which kind of I think influenced me even more than my father's career. And yeah, this is what shaped me basically into music.
So, you're grown up in Israel.
Yes.
Okay. And how was your first encounter with psychedelic trance music? What was your first exposure? When did you feel the music for the first time?
Well, I kind of involved into it by following dance music, electronic dance music since the early 90s, even 88, 89. There was a lot of techno music with vocals or without, which dominated the club scene back then and the pop scene. And that kind of slowly evolved into Goa trance. I mean, there were acts like, I don't know if you know, Ramirez or stuff like that in the early 90s, which had kind of a trancy sound, but not exactly Goa. And then I think around 93 is where I first started to notice Goa trance. I think the first album I ever got with Goa trance music was Concept in Dance. It was a compilation on XL Records, which had few UK producers like Man with No Name. I think his track Sugar Rush was one of the pure Goa trance tunes that I first heard, which really grabbed me. And that's it. And slowly I started discovering the music. It was really getting big in Israel in the mid 90s. And I started collecting and going to parties. And I haven't left since, basically.
Do you remember the first party you partied at?
One of the first parties was a rave in Tel Aviv with acts like Union Jack and Extreme and like that. But there was a party line in Tel Aviv in a club called Turtle House, which was owned actually by Xerox, if you know, Moshe Xerox, and was run by Zubi. was a really prominent character in the Israeli trance scene in the 90s. So I started going there. It's an underground party with zero deco, completely dark, just a flicker light. But every Friday I would go there for months. And this is how I started discovering all the artists. After every weekend, I would go to the Krembo shop in Tel Aviv. This was a legendary record store owned by the same Zubi. So every Friday I would hear him playing some tunes, and then on Sunday I would go there. What was that track? What was that track? And he started handing me all these CDs, and I started following all these artists, and this was the beginning basically for me.
Right. And do you remember your first visit to India? Your first visit to India, why were you here? Were you here to party? Were you here to play?
No, I was here to play, and of course I remember it. It was in 2003 to a club in Bombay called Fire and Ice. I think it's a legendary club in the history of the Goa scene in India. And back then it was run by a guy called Vishal Shetty. I just remember it being a total blast. I mean, it was my first experience in India, so my first encounter with all the Indian fans, and the party went to the roof. So I really remember this first time because it was a blast playing there.
So back in the days, the scene in India was only in Bombay, or you played other cities as well?
I played other cities. I came to Goa relatively late, I think 2010, something like that. Until then, I only did Indian city tours, Delhi, Pune, stuff like that. But to Goa arrived rather late, only around 2010. But it was also an amazing experience. And a few years later, I first played the Hilltop. I think 2013 or something, give or take. It was starting to grow. It was still not as big as it is today. So it was nice playing there when it was still smaller. But this was the first experience of the Hilltop, and yeah, I've been playing there also ever since.
So how did the dance floor, Indian dance floors look back in the days? Were there a lot of Indians back in the days as well, or it was mostly foreigners? How did the mix look like?
In Indian cities, there was no tourists. It was no foreigners. In Goa, of course, you always had foreigners, but in the Indian clubs, it was only Hindus, which was great because they have a special vibe to them in the dance floor. Very, very giving and energetic, and I don't think I ever had a bad party in India.
Yeah.
Because even if you happen to have a small party, even with not a lot of people, the energy is always 100%.
And how was the scene in Goa back in the days? Who were some of the big names? Goa Gill was around. So did you get a chance to see him live playing in Goa, or
No, I haven't seen him playing in Goa, but I saw Roger Ram playing and GMS and acts like that. And it was an interesting time because back then progressive was still not big in Goa. It was just starting to get in there. So it was special. By then only full-on and psychedelic was dominating. So it was interesting to come suddenly with a different sound to Goa, and people really accepted it well. So yeah.
how was the party scene like? People were more free. There were less restrictions. Were the parties very long?
I think there was less restrictions for night parties back then.
Yeah.
It was a little bit more free. I think it was past the heyday of Goa, but it was not as strict as now. It was a little bit more freedom, but it was still great. I mean, it's Goa, it's on the beach, it can't go wrong with that.
And what was happening around the world at the same time? How was early 2000 psychedelic scene in Israel and rest of the world?
Early 2000 is where the sound was starting to shift. I mean, mid 90s, I think for me was the best time for Psytrance because it was not completely new, but it was still fresh, and it had a different feeling when you're going into something fresh. It's different. I mean, it's amazing now, but when it's new, it feels different. You feel special because you're celebrating something really new with a very fresh tribe. So this was the mid 90s, was really the golden time for me. But early 2000s is where the sound was starting to shift. Full on became a little bit commercial, with a lot of vocals and remixes for famous tracks, and this is where it had a really rough time, I think. So this was the right time for progressive and more experimental music to rise to the front. And so this was really interesting because in Israel especially, there was a movement of really good underground parties. I think the most famous one was the Third Empire, which was legendary parties, mostly in the desert, really underground. They also had two festivals called Taz festivals, which was legendary for me. It was right when The Ace Ventura Project was starting to rise, so it was the right time for me to play in these parties and experience them. So it was an interesting time because it was a shift in the sound right in that period when you noticed.
So when you were young, you were just starting out. Were you headlining these parties, or how was the lineup like back in the days? How did it feel for you when you initially started playing at these huge parties and you're getting into the scene?
Well, when I just started, I obviously wasn't headlining because I was just starting. I think my first party playing as a trance DJ was in 98 or 99. Before that, I was just playing. I was a DJ from a very early age, like playing for birthday parties for kids from around age 13 plus. So I was already DJing, but my first trance gig was around 98 or 99, and obviously I was not headlining. It was just getting into it. But it was nice because like I said, these years were really special. So even as an unknown DJ, you felt great playing in a trance party, in a psychedelic trance party. And slowly as my name rose, I mean it came. I got better slots and better recognition, and it evolved until what it is today.
And Ace, along with you, I'm sure you have had some very good friendships in the scene. You have collabs with some artists like Asterix, Captain Hook, Liquid Soul. So how has your friendship evolved over the period of time? How do you guys make music? In fact, one of your most streamed songs on Spotify with 12 million streams, Pranav, it is a it is a hit in India and around the world.
Pranava.
Yes, Pranava.
Yeah.
So tell us the story, about your collaborations, about your friendships, and how did this song come into life?
Well, as for collaboration, I've always liked working with people since my first project, Psysex and Children of the Dog. I always liked working with people. It's fun, psychedelic trance is about friendship. It's about connecting. So working together is obviously a part of that. And I've worked with some legends of the scene. I still do. It's a big honor and it's a pleasure. You learn from each one. You take something from each one, from each experience, but most of them are coming from friendship already. So all of them are close friends for me, and I enjoy doing this. It's mostly about fun.
Your songs, I've noticed that they often have a lot of Indian references and Indian elements. So tell us about your connection with India, and how do you do those selections of those elements, and how do your songs come into life?
Well, you gotta respect India as being a prominent name. Well, the origin of Psytrance, basically, it started there. So India will always have strong connection with Psytrance, and I love Indian vocals. I love Indian instruments, percussions, and sitar, tablas, and the whole bunch. But when we started doing that, it wasn't big in the Psytrance scene. We always had Indian elements, and I'm not saying I was the first to do it, but when we did the track Sonic Masala, I think it was before Pranava even, there was not much Indian mantras and vocals. It was not big at all. And then we did Sonic Masala with Zen Mechanics under the Ventura Project. It became such a big hit, and suddenly a lot of mantras starting to appear. Again, I'm not saying it's the one who started it, but was the main area of where this whole vocal thing started. And Pranava, this was a track made with Asterix. It was a great collaboration, which really brought, I think, both of our elements into the game, and it stuck. I mean, it was really popular. Of course, it's popular in India, but not only here. And it's a pleasure playing it, especially in India, though.
Yeah, we all love the songs, not just Pranava, but all your songs, man. They're crazy. Let's talk about Boom Festival. It's huge. It's people say it's one of the biggest in the Psytrance music scene. And this year we have India as the guest country at Boom. Many Indian artists are playing there as well. You are one of the OGs to headline the Boom Festival. So tell us about your early days at Boom Festival. How was it like back in the days, and how do you feel about it growing into such a massive worldwide festival?
Yeah, well, Boom started in '98. This was the first Boom. My first Boom was on in 2006. It was an incredible experience for me, which really kickstarted the Ace Ventura project. It was a massive set and really, really made me fall in love with Psytrance festivals. Until then, I wasn't attending them so much, and this was the first one which I really discovered what it's like being a few days in this massive city, surrounded by like-minded people, and just enjoy music 24 hours. So that set was amazing, and I haven't missed any Boom since then. I think only 2008 I played in the After Boom, but other than that one, I played in each Boom. till today. I was really lucky to be invited each time. It's a great honor hovering this incredible mothership called the Dance Temple. Especially when it's full, it's incredible because not only full, it's full with people who know exactly what they like and know the music, and the feedback from that floor is simply, it cannot be described by words, especially when they give you long slots. I had a few times where I played 5 hours there, 5 hour plus, and the last few years it's only 3 hours. But even 3 hours in this place is a huge honor and a responsibility. But yeah, it's one of the only events where I really get nervous before playing, but that feeling goes away after around 3 minutes. Once you start playing the first track and you see the reactions, you're one with the dance floor, and it's definitely one of the biggest highlights of my life. Yeah.
What about you also often headline Hilltop Festival? You said you have been playing there since early 2000s. So tell us about Hilltop Festival. How a Hilltop club in particular, how was it back in the days, and your view on Hilltop Festival, how it has evolved over the years, and how does it feel playing there now, headlining Hilltop Festival now?
It's amazing playing in Hilltop because, first of all, you're playing in Goa, in one of the biggest events in Goa, if not the biggest event in Goa. And so you're playing in the biggest event where it all started. So even after many editions, every time I play there, it's really special. And it was nice to see how Starling evolved that place over the years. It became a massive 4 days festival full with headliners from all over the world and with multiple stages, with multiple genres, just not just Goa trance or full on or progressive, and with massive VJs and deco every year. And it's a pleasure coming there. I always come, I stay for a few days and hang out with the guys. It's amazing playing there because it's a lot of Goa people and Hindu people, but it's a hive for people from all over the world. So it's a nice melting pot of crowd, and I've been lucky to play there a lot. I also remember a special edition which was during COVID, which it was probably the only festival in the world this year, the only big festival. Everything was closed, but India was still yet to follow the restrictions. So it was 5,000 people on the dance floor where the whole world was shut. And this was just incredible because I was not traveling much back then. So suddenly I even had doubts about my career and my future. Nobody knew what will happen. It was a really uncertain time. And then suddenly I'm landing in the middle of Goa and there's 5,000 people on the dance floor, which was amazing. So this was a highlight as well. And yeah, but every edition they get bigger and better. So yeah, I'm looking forward to each one.
I'm glad, man, you enjoy. But other than these big festivals, are there some underrated festivals that you like? And would you like to give a shout out to some of the underrated festivals from around the world who you think they might get very, very big in the future?
I don't know about underrated, but this year I've played the first Solar Luna festival in Thailand. It was the first edition and it was incredible. It was a really small festival in Suatani, which is not a touristical place in Thailand. So it's like a kind of a virgin island, more or less. There's not much parties going on back there. So it was amazing. It was a really deserted place. It's not like Kopangan or very busy. So you had like a really deserted island, not deserted, but compared to Kopangan, it was much less people. So it was really small. I think it was 1,500 people. But it was amazing because really psychedelic lineup and the lush beaches of Thailand. So I stayed there for a few days as well, and this is one I highly recommend.
In fact, many of the big and major festivals are now moving out to Thailand, or at least having a showcase in Thailand. So how do you see the industry in Thailand, especially the psychedelic scene industry growing there? And what are your thoughts and opinion about Thailand being a destination?
I don't have a big experience there, to be honest, but going there this year, I can already see why people come, and not only for vacation, but for festivals and parties, because this place is a piece of heaven. It's a serious piece of heaven. And yeah, there's a certain magic to it, and I personally really cannot wait to go back there.
Okay, so I'll ask you one expert opinion, right? Since you're a veteran in the scene. These days, so many festivals are popping up, and they come up with a very nice flyer and they announce one or two headliners. But as an audience, how do you identify a good festival? How do you see which festival is going to be a banger, or how do you know that it is going to be a good festival?
First of all, for me, a very diverse lineup, not with just one style, something that will please all people. I can speak only from my taste. I mean, I like to see some strong psychedelic names there along the more mainstream ones. And once you have a solid lineup, not focusing only on just a few names or one genre, this is already something you need to explore. Then you check the location, you check the country, obviously, what is legal, what is not legal, how much freedom you have in the festival and around it. And obviously it's better if it's on a beach, but that's not too often. So I would say, yeah, the music, location, and the country, that's the main elements.
Okay, so also, you have been playing for such a long time. I'm sure you must have played some private parties or some underground festivals. Can you tell us about some crazy experiences from your life about playing at some private party or, maybe spotting some celebrities on the dance floor or just anything random?
Well, Psytrance is underground, It's rare, it's really rare when you see celebrities
Yeah.
in Psytrance parties. The only thing comes to mind is leaving Switzerland a few weeks back and seeing Kanye West in the passport checks right before me. But in a party, yeah, I mean, crazy experiences. I would say playing on boats is something really special. Playing on beaches, it's always amazing. Or playing in a really unauthorized location is always special. But I think it's mostly the people is what's what making the party, less than the location or celebrities.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So how important do you think it is for a festival to scale, to get bigger? Because a lot of people, I keep reading it everywhere and keep hearing it from people that smaller festivals are much better. They've got a more intimate vibe. But as a festival owner, it is an obligation to scale it, to make it profitable. So what are your thoughts? What do you prefer personally? Do you prefer massive stages or you prefer more intimate settings?
I mean, it really depends. I don't need the big party to be good. You sometimes has amazing parties with 200 people, It really depends, like I said, about the energy of the people. Obviously, when you have a huge dance floor and it's working and it's breathing, then for a DJ, it's every DJ's dream to play to a working, breathing dance floor. As for the promoter, I think it's just important, and the bigger you get, the more money you put into infrastructure. I mean, the problem with big festivals is usually a problem with toilets and showers and long lines and stuff like that. So I think it's really important to put a focus on catering to the people's needs, not only to big lineups, especially if you have a big festival. If you got these two elements nailed, then you have a good festival, yeah.
Yeah. Right, Ace. So you recently launched a new project, new record label called Mutant Disco. So can we talk a little bit about it? What is your vision with this record label, and what made you start this record label, and what kind of music can your fans expect?
Well, the reason I started it is basically because there's not much place to evolve as an artist. Past what I've done so far, the next stage obviously is to open a record label. I've been all my career as Ventura with Iboga Records. Big shout out to them. It's my family, still is my family. But it's time to evolve into shaping something new. Basically, it's an output for my musical taste. So everything that I like is gonna go on the label. I'm not limiting myself to any genre. It's a Psytrance label. So if it's full on progressive nighttime, there definitely gonna be some down tempo, some dub and experimental music, and yeah, it's basically music that I like to play, music that I like to listen to, and that's Mutant Disco. Yeah.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on these upcoming subgenres? I mean, of course, not upcoming, but the subgenres of psytrance like forest and psycho and experimental. Psycho is huge in India. So what is your thoughts on the other subgenres of psytrance music?
Well, I think music, like every kind of art, reflects the state of the world. And the world has been in a turmoil for a few years, so there's a need for more aggressive and fast music for people to release their energies. I think that's why high tech and Twilight and all this stuff started to rise. There's definitely need for more strong music. And yeah, I mean, there's a place for everything. Psytrance is a very wide spectrum, and it's great that people find their subgenres and support it and create it into a movement. So the more the merrier, I think.
What are your favorite music genres? What is on your Spotify playlist? What do you listen when you travel or when you're maybe working out, or what kind of music do you listen to?
When I travel, it's more down tempo and relaxing music. So it's more chill out based and electronic and experimental. And Psytrance, I've been a fan of Forest and Twilight actually for a while now. I like a lot of the stuff. I find it very interesting, especially the dance floor. It's mind bending, it's challenging, and so this is my preferred dance floor style as a raver. And yeah, so I don't listen to that much psytrance, but I would say that the more psychedelic is better for my ears. Yeah.
Right. Is what kind of advice would you like to give to the upcoming producers, upcoming artists? Times have changed a lot. There's a lot of AI now in the environment, and new gears are coming up. So, for today, day and age, what kind of advice or opinion would you give to emerging artists from around the world?
I think as the time goes on, it's getting harder and harder for people to stand up and break out because as technology improved, it's becoming easier to create psytrance or any kind of electronic music. So more people are relying on sample packs by really good sounding producers, and they can have a solid track in a few minutes if they want. This is the state we're in. But my advice is to use these sample packs only as reference. I mean, put them in your DAW, your digital audio workstation, just for trying to improve your sound, to make it as close to these well-crafted sound by good producers. Don't use them. Just use them as reference. Put them in your sequencer and try to EQ it. Try to compress it as good as you can to sound close to it, and then take it from there. And like I said, it's very hard to break out. So it's really hard being original. It's not an easy tip, but the more special stuff you create in music, whether it's blending genres or taking stuff from other kinds of music, then people will notice. If you just create more of the same, it will be very hard for you to reach promoters, to reach crowds. So you gotta try making something a little bit different. Otherwise, it's gonna be very hard for you.
I've also heard you mentioning that social media is also very important. This day, only making good music is not enough.
Sadly, not.
Yes. So, what is your opinion on the rising age of social media, and for a budding artist, what kind of things should they do to maintain their social persona, online persona, and to just stand out?
Like you said, it is important because if you want to be noticed, you got to be present there, not only in the studio. For me, in my age, it's a bit hard with the TikTok and this content creating. I'm a little bit past that. I mean, it's possible for everybody to do, but I think the younger people, it's their language. It's much easier for them. So yeah, you have to do it. You have to be present in social media in all platforms. There's a lot of platforms out there. It's a lot of work, but if you don't do it, you can make the best music in the world and no one will notice. So social media is, I would say, a very, very strong part of the game. And if you don't play it, you're gonna lose. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you can give an advice to a budding artist, what kind of technical gear should have? Or what do you use? What are some must have for a psychedelic trance producers? So what would you suggest?
Well, I have some outdoor gear, but I'm more of a in the box kind of producer. And I think especially for young producers who don't have the means, it's really easy to buy a few good virtual synths and take it from there. And there's amazing tools, digital plugins to create music instantly. The plugins like Serum, and I mean, you can make amazing psytrance very easily. And you need to use it wisely, so it's not going to sound like 99% of everybody else out there. But yeah, you don't need much to make amazing music nowadays. Only with a computer, sound cards, decent speakers, or even headphones, you can make an album in no time. So on that aspect, the technology is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, can we talk about your Ace Ventura and Dub project? Oh, that's amazing. I love to go back to your sets where you play Ace Ventura and Dub. So tell us a little bit about your Dub projects.
Well, dub is an amazing genre. I've always been into down tempo and especially dub. And since there hasn't been so many great dub albums in psytrance, there's been a few legendary ones. There's the Ethnic in dub album. There's Hallucinogen in dub album. These are some of the bigger ones which influenced me a lot. And so I decided to make my own Ace Ventura in dub album. It was a really, really great project, which I really had fun collecting. It's remixes from really amazing artists. And we made a vinyl, which was also quite popular, and it was a fun project. And then taking it on the road, playing it in parties, playing in chill out stages, suddenly it's very satisfying, especially the one I did in Ozora in the Dome, which Gaudi joined me. This was one of the most fun sets I had, and this year I played in Hilltop, a dub set as well, which was amazing. It was right when Camacho was playing, so obviously his floor was fuller than mine, but we had an amazing bunch of people dancing to dub in Hilltop, which was a first for me, and it was a great experience. I'm definitely gonna make more of that, and I started work on Ace Ventura and Dub album part 2. So there's a future for that as well.
Awesome, man. Looking forward to it. If I may ask, do you do acid test on your own music? And what are your thoughts? What are your opinion? Do you enjoy it? And also, what are some of your favorite dance floors that you like to be at? Dancing, not playing.
I think trance music is for everyone, for every state, but there's something about altered states and listening to music, especially trance music, in this frequency, which is very special and we cannot be achieved normally. That's just a fact. But so yeah, it's amazing to experience this kind of sounds in the right frequency. And as for dance floors, yeah, I mean that's my fun time. I mean it's not a lot of parties which I party in, but the festivals is my home, and especially Boom and Ozora. This is where I stay for a few days and hang out in the dance floor and dance and listen to music and discuss it with people. So these festivals is definitely where I have fun. Yeah.
Man, you're a rock star. Every other day you are in another country. So how is your life like? Do you are you still excited about going to new countries? Does it still give you kick? Or now it's all just too old for you, you passed that, and how do you keep up, keep up the spirit, and how do you maintain your lifestyle while traveling so much?
No, I still, after all these years, I really enjoy my work. I love traveling. I love going to different countries to experience the food, the people, and these for dance floors. I mean, each country is different to play in. And yeah, I still have a lot of fun. I mean, for me, the secret is that for 11 years, I live in the countryside in Switzerland, in a very remote place in nature, which is very quiet. And you can even say boring, but it's the right dynamic for me to stay there during the week, and then in the weekend go to a rocking party somewhere or a massive festival. So this dynamic of these two changes is really good for me. It keeps me excited to travel outside of Switzerland and then go to parties. And yeah, after all these years, I still enjoy it. I mean, I have no intentions of stopping. I don't feel the burnout yet. Knock on wood, and I hope it lasts as much as possible.
Man, I've heard this from many big artists that they'll, like, major ones, of course, that they have a spot in Switzerland. They like to chill out there, work out of there, and make music there. What is it about Switzerland that people like so much?
Well, Switzerland is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. You start with that everywhere you go, even driving the train, it's just you're living in a postcard. It's the cleanest and most, I mean, what can I say? It's Switzerland. Everything works and it's quiet. It's nice to travel. Everybody's super nice. And yeah, there's lush places either for skiing or for hiking or for, there's not that many festivals, but there is a few festivals. There's a small scene in Switzerland with festivals, and there's parties every weekend. And it's basically a neutral country, so you feel safe there. So yeah, I'm very lucky to live there since 11 years already, and I can definitely understand why people go there. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, in this last year, many big festivals have been cancelled. Major names have been cancelled around the world. So, what is your opinion as a senior DJ in the scene? What is your advice or your comments that you'd like to give to the festival goers? Who get major disappointments after these cancellations, and what is your advice to the producers of these festivals?
Well, I think it's really hard to make a festival. It's expensive, and I think nowadays it's really important to make a festival if you have the financial back for it. You cannot make a festival relying on ticket sales because people rely on you. They book flights from all over the world. They book vacations from their jobs, and then if a festival doesn't sell well and it cancels, then it's a bit of a spit of in the face of the people, you know. So you need to have some kind of a financial sponsor or backup to support the initial being of the festival. don't do it if you don't have it. I mean, it's you're dealing with people's lives and works, so it's easy to say, but you need to do it only if you can. So start with this, make a festival if you have a financial possibility for it. And then yeah, and the people are not stupid. Usually they know who to follow and who to put their money in most of the times. Sometimes they have surprises, but by now 2025 we know which festival is stable and solid and which you can safely choose to go to.
Yeah, that's true. If you had to create a festival, so who would be the 5 names you would put on the guest? For sure, would be on your headliner or on your lineup.
It's a very hard question, and you need to be political about it. But I'm not gonna do.
What if
I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna say what I want to hear. I would say Fungus Funk, Tristan, Zen Mechanics for the progressive organic side, and for down tempo, I would bring Ott and Gaudi.
Awesome. You should really organize a festival.
It's a very hard question to narrow it down to 5 names. There's so many good artists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You have done some open to close sets as well. Uh, how has your experience been doing it open to close? How do you do your track selection? What goes on into your mind? And do you plan to do such sets more often in the future?
I love it. I love playing long sets. It's a pleasure for me, and it's a pleasure when the promoter put the trusts in me for long sets. And to be honest, it's easy because since I'm a DJ for so long, my selection is big. It's not hard for me to fill 8 to 10 hours, rather easy even. So it's more fun than a challenge. You need to know how to keep a party running, to keep the energy strong. Obviously, you don't want people leaving but I build it slowly. If I literally start, like I did a few times, if I start from the beginning, then I start a little bit down tempo, going up to some techno, and these days melodic techno, and then to slow progressive, harder progressive, and then full on, and maybe if I have enough time, a little bit forest, and then probably take it down again slowly to progressive and some slower anthems, and that's the main story basically. Once I did it in Argentina, which I'm doing again in September, I plan to do like 1 hour chill out in the beginning, really start doing it from scratch. But 5 minutes into the party, the place was full instead of building slowly. So that plan went out of the window, and I moved to progressive really fast because everybody was there. So it depends, but you need to build a story, otherwise there's no point. Yeah.
Of course. Going back to your early days, you started with a project called Children of the Dog and Psysex in the beginning. So how was it? You were young and just getting into the scene. How did those projects come about? And when was the point then you decided that you need to go solo and turn to Ace Ventura?
So Children of the Dog came when I became friends with DJ Goblin. We were both going to parties, just enjoying the fresh first years of Psytrance in Israel. And then he decided to build a studio, so we decided to start a project together. This was Children of the Dog, the children of Dr. Hoffman, obviously. And since he had a radio show back then, he had access to many big artists in Israel, so they each came to his studio. We had Euphoria coming by, we had Christoph Absalom from X Transwave and Talam Musk. All these people coming to Goblin Studio, showing us some tricks, EQing the mixer. And this was the start. And then Astral Projection were the first guys who gave us the chance to release our first track. It was a track called Welcome Friends, about aliens. And yeah, it was the first release ever in a compilation called Israeli Psychedelic Trance Volume 3. So this was our first big break. Astral, I remember going in their studio, we were blown away. It was full of gear from every corner. And they were the ones who gave us our first chance. So thanks, Avi and Lior. And then after a few months, the Psysex project was born, going into more psychedelic sounds. And we ditched Children of the Dog. We released the 3 albums together and 1 remix album. And like every marriage, relationships know ups and downs. And we had our downs as well. They're closer to the end. And meanwhile, my musical taste was starting to shift a little bit. Progressive was rising, coming from Scandinavia and Germany, and it was like blowing my mind suddenly. In the same time, Full On was right in that commercial phase I was talking about, with lots of vocals, and became really commercial. So that was the right time to make a change. And I took a big gamble because Psysex was a big project back then. We played all over the world and things were good, but I made a gamble, you know. My good friend Yuli, Perfect Stranger, said, you gotta try producing some progressive. And that's what I did. And I made a track for his compilation called Set 4 on Iboga Records, a track called Cardiac Arrest. This was the first Ventura release in 2005. And people really liked it. And I got so much good feedback. So that was a good time to call it quits with Psysex. In 2006, we're completely separated. And yeah, it took off really fast for Ace Ventura. I mean, it was the right move at the right time, right when the music the music scene was ready for it. And like I said, playing in Boom 2006 and Universo Paralelo in Brazil at that time really jump-started my career. And yeah, I'm going since then with this project.
Awesome, man. Ace, when we are in the older streets and when we discover new music, psychedelic music, people, they get amazed, they get mind blown with the artist. And the first thought, at least for me, goes like, who is this guy? What is this guy thinking when creating this music? So, and a lot of people must have thought the same when they heard your music in all the states for the first time. So, what is your message to those people? And even in the future, a lot of new people are going to come into the scene. What is your message to these people? They might come back to this interview.
Well, first of all, you need to use your head. You need to believe your instincts and not following what everybody dictates around you. That's the message. The message, just to think. Don't follow everything you see on the news. Don't watch news at all if you can. And the same goes for music. I mean, just follow what you like, and then support it and listen to the music and go to the parties and buy the music and just live your life.
Awesome. What are some of the festivals you're excited to play this summer? And what's next for Ace Ventura roadmap?
Well, every summer is festival season, That's the best time of the year, for me at least. It's a pleasure jumping from festival to festival. Sometimes it's a bit of a bummer that you have to go for one day only because you have one or two other festivals in this weekend, that you landed this amazing place and shit, you gotta leave in a few hours. But try to make time for the big ones. So I'm definitely looking forward to Boom, to Ozora. I have a 3 hours opening set in Spain in Own Spirit, another amazing festival. But yeah, most of them are just amazing playgrounds. So it's a privilege and honor to come and share energies in each one of these, whether it's just DJing or hanging with the people. So festival season for sure. It's already started, but the main ones are coming and I'm psyched, yeah.
Yeah. And what's next for Ace Ventura project?
Well, I have a few releases coming. The main one is a collaboration with GMS, which I'm very, very happy about because Rictam has been an inspiration for decades, literally decades. And he made some remixes for me, but I never got to work with him. And this one we actually made together in his studio. Most of online collaborations are made online, but this one we made in his boat studio in Amsterdam. It was a total blast, and it's coming soon on my label. I have a few other releases coming, but yeah, now the focus is the parties and the festival, creating special sets and showcasing new music. So that's the main focus this month.
Awesome, man. Looking forward. Okay, so before we sign off, before we close this, could you offer your mantra or tip or philosophy to the people looking to this interview from around the world and your fans and your audience from around the world? What's the last message you'd like to give?
Well, I just want to give thanks to everyone who supported me in this very long journey. I really appreciate it. I always try to answer everybody who writes me and communicate because I appreciate every feedback and every like and every heart and every reaction on the dance floor. So big thank you to all of you for all these years, and let's rock on to the future.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us in
My pleasure.
Delhi, India. And we're looking forward to your shows in Bangalore and Mumbai in the coming week and your shows this summer. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you again for this beautiful interview. You obviously made your research, so it's not just random questions, and I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. You guys are pro. Third Eye Wi-Fi, PSYFYI. This is Ace Ventura, and you're listening to Psy-Fi Magazine.
Guys, a very special shout out to Club Diego in Gurugram in Delhi NCR for hosting us. Nothing but respect for the guys like this who are helping us sustain the scene, providing us with the venue, opening the space for us to hosting such interviews for you guys. This is one of the newest club of Delhi NCR. So if you are around, make sure you come here if you are an enjoyer of techno music or psytrance music or any music of that sorts. Also, a special shout out to Night City for helping us make the arrangements, and always our favorite guys and the best curators of Delhi NCR. So make sure you're following their page and keeping an eye what's happening in Delhi.